she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous...
Whoopi Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about them.
In an explosive television moment that sent shockwaves through the political and media landscape, Karoline Leavitt, a young and articulate conservative, confronted Whoopi Goldberg and the hosts of The View, exposing their biased narratives and reluctance to engage in fair and open debate.
First of all, it takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently frequently likened President Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now, as
I'm
for
sorry,
this
guys.
debate,
We're going to come back out to the panel.
Caroline?
The exchange between Leavitt and The View's panel, particularly Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, was nothing short of riveting. A clash of ideologies that highlighted the growing divide in political discourse and media representation.
Be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies.
For years, The View has been a battleground where conservative voices are often dismissed, ridiculed, or drowned out by the overwhelmingly liberal panel. However, Leavitt refused to be silenced, challenging the hosts with facts and unflinching confidence. Her fearless approach not only put the show's credibility under scrutiny, but also reignited discussions about mainstream media's role in shaping public opinion. The fallout from this confrontation was immediate. Social media platforms erupted with reactions. Audiences debated the exchange, and critics called out The View's hypocrisy in claiming to support women's empowerment while attacking a young, accomplished conservative woman. The controversy even led to speculation about Whoopi Goldberg's future on the show. As calls for more balanced discussions grew louder, this moment was more than just another heated exchange on daytime television. It was a pivotal event that underscored the deep-seated biases in mainstream media and the growing demand for fair, balanced conversations. The segment began with Leavitt being introduced as a rising conservative star, an introduction that was met with lukewarm reception from the hosts. Almost immediately, Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar adopted a condescending tone, questioning Leavitt's credentials and the legitimacy of her viewpoints. Goldberg, in particular, attempted to diminish Leavitt's career, suggesting that she only attained her position due to the very ideology she criticizes. The insinuation was clear: conservative women cannot be successful on their own merit. However, Leavitt was more than prepared. Instead of allowing herself to be intimidated, she confidently countered with statistics and historical references, dismantling the show's usual narrative. She addressed issues such as media bias, government overreach, and the misuse of taxpayer money for ideological agendas. When Behar attempted to interrupt, Leavitt remained composed, refusing to be talked over, something that rarely happens on The View when a conservative guest is present. One of the most surprising aspects of this confrontation was the audience's response. Typically, The View's studio audience is aligned with the show's progressive stance, often cheering the hosts and jeering at conservative guests. However, as Leavitt presented her arguments with clarity and conviction, there was a noticeable shift in the room. While the audience initially reacted in support of the hosts, as the debate continued, murmurs of agreement could be heard when Leavitt made her points. Some members of the audience even clapped at moments where Leavitt exposed inconsistencies in the hosts' arguments. This rare deviation from the norm indicated that even among The View's loyal viewers, there was an acknowledgement that the show often shuts down opposing perspectives instead of engaging with them meaningfully. Whoopi Goldberg, known for her commanding presence on the show, appeared visibly unsettled for the first time in a long while. Unlike previous conservative guests who have either been steamrolled or retreated under pressure, Leavitt stood her ground and effectively turned the tables. Goldberg's usual strategy of dismissing conservative viewpoints with humor or outright denial failed in this instance. When confronted with direct evidence of media bias and the suppression of conservative voices, she struggled to provide a coherent rebuttal. Instead, she resorted to vague statements about protecting democracy and the importance of progressive values, none of which addressed the core of Leavitt's argument. This lack of a strong counter-argument only furthered the perception that The View is not interested in genuine debate, but rather in reinforcing a singular ideological perspective. One of the most glaring issues exposed during this confrontation was the hypocrisy of The View's panel. The show often champions itself as a beacon of women's empowerment, promoting messages of equality and opportunity. However, when faced with a young, successful conservative woman, they resorted to belittling her, questioning her intelligence, and attempting to undermine her achievements. This double standard did not go unnoticed by viewers. Critics quickly pointed out that had Leavitt been a progressive woman speaking against conservative policies, she would have been celebrated and praised for her courage. Instead, because she challenged their narrative, she was met with hostility and dismissiveness. The contradiction between The View's proclaimed values and their treatment of Leavitt sparked outrage among many who had previously supported the show. It also reinforced a long-standing criticism. The View does not truly support all women, only those who align with their political ideology. In the hours and days following the confrontation, social media exploded with reactions, such as #Karoline Leavitt exposes. The View and #Whoopi struggles to debate trended on Twitter, with users sharing clips of the exchange and debating its implications. Conservative commentators and public figures praised Leavitt for her poise and intellectual rigor, while even some moderate viewers expressed frustration with The View's refusal to engage in fair discussion. Memes and posts ridiculing Goldberg's inability to counter Leavitt's points circulated widely, further damaging the show's credibility. This incident also reignited broader discussions about the mainstream media's role in fostering division, rather than encouraging meaningful discourse. Many questioned whether shows like The View genuinely serve their audience or merely act as echo chambers for a specific political ideology. As criticism mounted, speculation began regarding Whoopi Goldberg's future on the show. While Goldberg remains a central figure on The View, the growing backlash against her handling of political discussions has raised concerns about her long-term role. ABC, the network that airs The View, has faced calls to either introduce more balanced representation on the panel or replace some of the more polarizing hosts. While there has been no official statement from the network, industry insiders suggest that mounting pressure could lead to changes in the show's format or cast. Furthermore, Leavitt's successful confrontation has set a precedent. Future conservative guests may now feel emboldened to challenge the hosts in a similar fashion, potentially altering the show's dynamics permanently. If The View continues its pattern of shutting down opposing viewpoints, it risks alienating an even larger portion of its audience. Karoline Leavitt's confrontation with Whoopi Goldberg and the hosts of The View was more than just an entertaining TV moment. It was a cultural flashpoint that highlighted the growing demand for fair and open debate in mainstream media. In an era where political division is at an all-time high, moments like these serve as crucial reminders that no ideology should go unchallenged. Leavitt's fearless approach exposed the contradictions within The View, challenged the show's credibility, and ignited a national conversation about media bias and the importance of diverse perspectives. Whether or not The View acknowledges the criticism remains to be seen. However, one thing is certain. Karoline Leavitt's stand against the show's one-sided narratives will be remembered as a pivotal moment in the ongoing fight for media accountability and honest discourse.